I want you to listen to this. This was sent to a watchdog who doesn't want to be identified. We did some research. 7,000 schools and churches and organizations are now playing this across the country. This was played in a school which we won't reveal yet. Watch tonight. I have my reasons. This was played in a school, and we got a watchdog who alerted us to it. Now, I'm going to play just the audio, but wait until you see. This is what the New York Times says is far better than Al Gore's movie. Far better because it's more accessible. Listen to what they're teaching in this little movie.
I spent 10 years traveling the world, tracking where our stuff comes from and where it goes. And you know what I found out? That is not the whole story. There is a lot missing from this explanation. For one thing, this system looks like it's fine. No problem. But the truth is, it's a system in crisis.
What's the system we're talking about here, by the way?
How does our stuff get here?
Yeah. Mostly the capitalist system.
Yes, the capitalist system.
Yeah, it's capitalism. She's not saying that, but that's what she's alluding to.
Yeah.
And the reason it's a system in crisis is it's a linear system, and we live on a finite planet. And you cannot run a linear system on a finite planet indefinitely. Every step along the way, this system is interacting with the real world. In real life, it's not happening on a blank white page. It's interacting with societies, cultures, economies, the environment. And all along the way, it's bumping up against limits. Limits we don't see here because the diagram is incomplete. So let's go back through. Let's fill in some of the blanks and see what's missing. Well, one of the most important things that's missing is people. Yes, people. People live and work all along this system.
Oh, no.
And some people in this system matter a little more than others. Some have a little more say. Who are they? Well, let's start with the government. Now, my friends tell me I should use a tank to symbolize the government, and that's true in many countries and increasingly in our own.
Stop. I should use a tank. I should use a tank to demonstrate, to illustrate our government. And then it turns into a tank. It is the capital, and then it turns into a tank. And this happens in a lot of countries, and some say more increasingly in our very own.
Because I was on the way in today, and I got run over by a tank.
Did you?
And it was three
what
tanks.
Are those government tanks?
Rolling down the streets. Yeah, they're government tanks.
So many of them.
And,
well, maybe I shouldn't give her such a hard time because I think I agree with her that maybe the tank thing is in our future. I mean, for the love of Pete, are we not engaging in anti-American, anti-capitalism propaganda now in our schools? Go ahead.
More than 50% of our federal tax money is now going to the military. But I'm using a person to symbolize the government because I hold true to the vision and values the government should be of the people, by the people, for the people.
Listen to this.
It's the government's job to watch out for us, to take care of us.
Stop.
That's their...
It is not the job of the government to watch out for us and to take care of us. It is not the government's job. That kind of government leads to a tank. And a man on a lonely bridge standing there with his hand up, trying to stop the tank. That's a government that takes care of you, watches out for you. Not the American government. That is never the goal of the American government. It never has been. That has been the goal of every despotic government ever created on Earth.
It's not like this is going to 7,000 schools, though, so don't worry about it.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Job. Then along came the corporation. Now, the reason the corporation looks bigger than the government is that the corporation is bigger than the government. Of the 100 largest economies on Earth now, 51 are corporations. And as the corporation has grown in size and power, we've seen a little change in the government where they're a little more concerned in making sure everything's working out for those guys than for us.
I actually agree with this part of it. I have no problem with corporations getting big. I have every problem with corporations joining with governments. The rules apply for the government and the corporations and the people alike. Laws are laws. No special favors, no special breaks. I don't care how big you are.
It's a ridiculous premise, though, to say that everything's getting so much easier for businesses these days. And this is not the way we're going.
It is much easier if you are the right
If you're
corporation.
maybe for certain ones, you can make that argument. That's not the argument she's making, though, at all.
No.
I mean, obviously, if you're GE, yes, things got a lot easier for you in the last 9 months.
Oh, no, there's nothing that happened like, Barack Obama opening the gateway right to Russia so they could have meetings with Vladimir Putin. That happened, but it wasn't tied.
Nothing to do with
it. happened on the same day that we gave up the missile shield over in Europe and we sold Poland out. But that's a sheer coincidence.
Stop with your hate.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Okay, so let's see what else is missing from this picture. We'll start with extraction, which is a fancy word for natural resource exploitation, which is a fancy word for trashing the planet.
Wow.
What this looks
Talk about propaganda.
This is
Stop.
Unbelievable.
Wait until you see it tonight. Wait until you see it.
Where I live in the United States, we have less than 4% of our original forests left. 40% of the...
Get that spin? We have less than... Was 4%, it 4% of the original forest? In other words, yes, trees have died and we've replaced them.
Right, and we have more trees.
More trees than we ever had in our history.
Yet the original forest is what we're concerned about, not trees.
Is now gone.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
as if that matters.
Right.
No, it does.
We've lost 100%
Do we need the
of our
original
trees.
trees?
How many of the original people do we have left? Huh?
None.
You
None,
don't
Glenn.
care. They're
No,
dying.
you're right.
We need health care. All the original people are dead. But you
Every
don't care.
original
You're just like,
colonist
we'll
is dead.
We'll just make more.
100%. They're all dead. That is amazing. That's an amazing
it's
statistic.
amazing.
Let me ask, if we were here to protect the original trees, why would God have made seeds?
It's a pretty good question.
That's my job,
question.
just asking questions.
Or saws. He wouldn't have
No,
done that.
man made saws.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Man made
Nice.
saws. But why did God make man with hands? To be able to use the saw.
Or so he could slap you upside the head. I'm not sure.
waterways have become undrinkable.
Hang on just a second.
They have become undrinkable.
Capitalism has cleaned our waterways. I mean, unless you want to go back to when no people were around, which I believe John Holdren may be for. And by the way, has anybody noticed the big push now in a watchdog alerted this to me and said, Glenn, go back and listen to the president's speech. He talked about the growing population and how the population is growing too big. Mm-hmm. Did you hear that in the inauguration speech? Mm-hmm. There's a story out today from the United Nations. Do you have this story, Stu?
Yes.
That the population is growing too big. Mm-hmm. Let's just remember who we've now confirmed and now have in with the President of the United States, John Holdren, who has already developed all kinds of great ideas for population control, including sterilants in drinking water and forced abortions.
Now, it's that theory has been so thoroughly dismissed over the years that people are embarrassed to embrace it publicly anymore. Here's the UN with their latest push to do the same.
The theory of not the sterilants in drinking waters, but the outrageous population
control. All these people made projections that there would only be 100 million people left on the planet by 2020. Some of them were saying the UK would not exist as of the year 2000. That there would be no fish in the ocean as of the year 1980. Yep. All these people made these crazy predictions, and they've been so wrong so consistently that people don't generally embrace these theories in public anymore. But the same people who were believing them back then are now in our government, and the UN is releasing the same sort of propaganda now again.
At the same time that we're pushing for global governance for global warming. Remember, the ultimate way to stop global warming is to stop development of the earth.